Today I'm talking about The Real Thing, the third studio album by Faith No More, released on June 20th, 1989 through Slash and Reprise Records. The album is celebrating 35 years. I will be talking about the songs, lineup changes, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Controversy, and The Fish. It's the first album to feature Mike Patton following the dismissal of previous vocalist Chuck Mosley. I remember this album when it came out back in 1989. I was getting into heavy metal, and the hit single for Epic really caught my attention and got me interested in this band. I went out and bought the CD. I still have it. Here's the CD right here. I'll be showing more pictures of it up close. And what I like about this band is that all the songs sounded different. So, for example, Epic was a rap and funk song, but they had some alternative rock. There was a Middle Eastern instrumental. There was a thrash metal song. There was so much different stuff on the album, so I'm going to be talking about all of that in this video. First, a little bit of history. The band went through several lineup changes before recording their first album, We Care a Lot, released in 1985 and distributed through San Francisco-based label Mordheim Records, but they didn't stay with that label. Therefore, within a year, the band signed up with Slash Records. The debut album's title track, We Care a Lot, was later re-recorded for their follow-up album, Introduce Yourself, in 1987. That was released as the first single. The band had some difficulties leading up to the recording of this album. The original singer, Chuck Mosley, had a unique presence and style, but his behavior, including substance abuse and getting into fights, was causing problems. Therefore, Chuck Mosley was fired. He was on the first two Faith No More albums, like I was just talking about, We Care a Lot and Introduce Yourself. In my personal opinion, I always thought he wasn't a great vocalist, but I like the first two Faith No More albums. Therefore, I believe that he left his mark with the band. I think getting Mike Patton in the band was a game changer because he is an incredibly talented vocalist. The band started writing the music for The Real Thing album right after they finished touring for the album Introduce Yourself. There was a demo version of The Morning After, but the original title was New Improved Song. This song had alternate lyrics written and sung by Chuck Mosley and was released on the Sounds Waves 2 EP, which was a compilation of new alternative artists. Then there was a song which is possibly the heaviest called Surprise You're Dead. It was composed by guitarist Jim Martin in the 1970s when he played for Agents of Misfortune. Here's some interesting trivia. Agents of Misfortune also featured Cliff Burton in their lineup. Jim Martin and Cliff Burton were close friends. Later, I'm going to talk about the music video for Epic. In that music video, Jim Martin is wearing a shirt with Cliff Burton on it. The shirt has the words, a tribute to Cliff Burton. After that, the band was ready to record the album, but they had fired Chuck Mosley, so when Mike Patton came, he had to record all the vocals for the songs. There were two songs that were recorded that did not appear on the album, which were The Grade and the Cowboy Song. These songs later appeared on the singles and the UK edition of Live at the Brixton Academy. A third song called Sweet Emotion, not Aerosmith, was later re-recorded with different lyrics as The Perfect Crime. This was released for the soundtrack to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and that movie also had a cameo appearance by guitarist Jim Martin. Let's talk about Epic. This was a very popular song. It was a big hit and probably the first song most people had heard from the band. The song brought the band a lot of controversy, so let's talk more about that. This was the second single from the album. It was released in 1990 in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe. The song was the band's breakthrough hit, peaking at number 9 on the US Billboard Hot 100, number 2 in New Zealand, and number 1 in Australia for 3 weeks. It is among the band's most popular songs and a staple in their concerts. Epic was a rap song that mixed heavy metal and funk, which wasn't the first time rap and metal were ever mixed together. It had already been done by bands like Anthrax and Run DMC, but this was rap, it was alternative, it was metal, it just had that perfect combination. But here's some more controversy, and there were two different controversies. The first one deals with the music video, which shows a short clip of a fish out of water, which must have lasted a few seconds. The animal rights activists were upset with this and became a big thing, but the band insisted that the fish was only out of water for a few seconds, and they did multiple takes, so the fish wasn't harmed at all. But in all honesty, I really believe they kind of made a big deal about it, considering it's just a fish. And here's something else weird, and it may be a Mandela effect. I remember the fish being a goldfish, but I went back and watched the video, and it was just a normal-looking fish, as I'm showing in these clips. Let me know in the comments if you remember a goldfish. There was another controversy because Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers accused Mike Patton of stealing his style during his performance for the music video of Epic. Now, these two bands had a little bit of a history because Faith No More toured with the Red Hot Chili Peppers when they had the album The Uplift Mofo Party Plan, which was back in the day. Keep in mind, this was Red Hot Chili Peppers in the late 80s when they were still playing that heavy, funky music. But afterwards, this controversy didn't really turn into anything. It was just one person complaining about another band copying their style. Let's talk about the songs now. The first track is From Out of Nowhere. This was the first single. It was never that big. Therefore, the band got noticed with the next single, Epic. It was a weird mix of punk rock and new wave, but there were lots of keyboards and heavy guitars, so it was a unique song. This was a lead-up track that showed off Mike Patton and his vocals. I've always liked this song. Then it was Epic, which I talked about already, but I'll talk more about the music. I think it's a really good track because it had that really funky bass line with the rapping and the alternative rock sounding chorus of You Want It All, but you can't have it. But there was more to it. Jim Martin plays some heavy metal guitar riffs. Therefore, the song had a lot going on. It was popular because it was different. There was rap, funk, epic guitars, heavy metal, and they mixed in so many different styles into the song. But there was this unique outro, a soft piano melody. So this band was not really following any rules. Some might even argue that this was the birth of rap and metal, or it kind of opened doors to it. After this is the song Fall Into Pieces. The song had a new wave sound with a funky bass line, but I've always liked the song. Therefore, it's another strong track. The song has everything that the band was doing with the heavy guitar riffs and dreamy keyboards, but that was not all. This showed off Mike Patton's vocals. He uses so many different styles in the songs. He even does a little bit of rapping on the song, but you don't notice it because it gets blended with his other vocal styles. Therefore, I think it's safe to say he can sing in any style. Then there's the bass guitar, which played a major role in the song. The thumping bass can be heard throughout the song, and it can be heard along with the keyboards. The song is about someone when their life is falling to pieces, but you can't do it alone, so you need someone to pick up the pieces. Surprise You're Dead. The song was fast and aggressive. Faith No More were known for making alternative and new wave music, but this was different. This was the band expanding their sound. It might be one of the best thrash metal songs from a non-thrash metal band. After this was the song Zombie Eaters. The song was soft and atmospheric, but it maintained the sound of the band, so it was another song showing the versatility of the band. After a few minutes, the guitars and bass come into the song, but they do not take anything away from it. Therefore, it's another song that sounded unlike any of the others. Mike Patton sang in both soft and harder styles, but he never tries to go overboard with his voice. So I think Mike Patton was a great choice for this music. I'm not sure if Chuck Mosley would have pulled off this song. After this is the title track called The Real Thing. The bass and drums play a major part in the first part of the song, but the guitars and keyboards are still present, so it was a song that was very representative of the album sound. The guitars take more of a backseat in parts of the song, but they are not completely absent. Therefore, the other instruments are able to be used more effectively. The next song is Underwater Love. I was reading the lyrics trying to interpret them. It's either about falling in love with a mermaid or just falling in love with a woman who has just drowned. One interpretation is dark, the other is wholesome. The song has some jazzy parts, some funky bass lines, and bright keyboards, but I think the song is lacking heavy guitar riffs from Jim Martin. So it's probably one of the lower ranking songs on the album, at least in my opinion it is. Then there's a song, The Morning After. The song has some dark lyrics. They're not easy to interpret. It appears that the protagonist had just killed someone and he woke up the next morning not remembering anything. This one has all the elements of a good Faith No More song. The heavy guitars, the spacey keyboards, the funky bass guitar, and the eclectic vocals of Mike Patton. But it's also not one of my favorites, so I would consider this a mid-tier song. But with that being said, in general, it's an awesome album. So anything mid-tier is better than anything from, let's say, the last two Faith No More albums. But I just wanted to get that out there. Next is Woodpecker from Mars. This is an instrumental with some Middle Eastern sounds. I've always liked the song. It has some orchestral sounds, the guitar melodies with the funky bass and keyboards in the background. Has some tempo changes and melody. I don't have anything negative to say about this. It's one of my favorite instrumentals from any of the albums that really came out around this time. Then there's a cover of Black Sabbath's War Pigs. It's a faithful cover of the original. The guitar and bass sound very similar to the original, and Mike Patton sings it in his own style. He's not trying to emulate Ozzy or anything like that, but the song lacks originality. Therefore, it's just a decent cover of a Black Sabbath song. I would have preferred if they had changed it up a little more to make it their own, but that's just me. The last song is Edge of the World. This is a jazzy ballad, but it's kind of creepy. Therefore, I'm not going to say what it's about. I'll just let you look it up. That is all. Let me know your thoughts on The Real Thing. After this, they would release Angel Dust, and that was a very different album. I probably should do another review of it. I was listening to a couple of songs from the album again, and it's a really cool album. A few years ago, I did one of those videos. It was a versus video, like The Real Thing versus Angel Dust, and I'll put that right there. So check it out, see which one is the winner. Please like this video, helps you with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.